So, hello friends, welcome to the ETManufacturing BigByte session, where we invite the industry leaders and experts to discuss on the management strategies, this market dynamics, and the technology trends. So, today we have with us Mr. Vedant Birla, who is the chairman and managing director of Birla Precision Technologies. So, welcome Vedant on the show, and thanks for your participation.
Thanks. Happy to be here, Shekhar. Pleasure.
So, let's start with the first question. As the fifth generation of the Birla family, how do you balance the family legacy with your own vision for the company?
So actually, you can say sixth generation kind of.
Sixth generation, okay.
Yeah, but the way I balance the two is Birla family, of course, lucky to be born in a family which has such a rich legacy and history, which obviously itself is a big thing to even live up to, and it's an honor to be able to even attempt to live up to something like that. The way I balance it, I think in the Birla family we've always the teachings we've always got is very based on like even spirituality and the Indian culture and tradition, where it's always looked at as I remember my great grand uncle Mr. G.D. Birla had written a letter to one of his next in line that always look at the when you're heading a business, always look like you are the trustee and approach it like you're the trustee of the business, not the owner, right? So always look at it as a trusteeship mode, which is kind of what even the Bhagavad Gita also talks about, right? That one should always look at it not that we own the thing, but we are a temporary trustee or a custodian of the entity, and then sooner or later we have to pass it on to the next generation a bit better than we found it, right? So I think that's the way that even I try to look at the things, and of course the way that we balance the thing is for all our people in the company, we have many sort of like we do, of course we do CSR. That's one of the things. I'm also on the board of Shri Krishna Arpan Trust, which is a family trust which runs a couple of schools. I'm on the board of the Mathura Krishna Janmabhoomi Trust, which also handles the Krishna Janmabhoomi temple. So these are the couple of things that we do in the company. In for the employees, we have a lot of wellness practices, because always Birla companies, even Tata companies, and many other such companies have always placed employees first, or done a lot of things for the wellness of the people. So we have done many things like having meditation practices, yoga practices, which every employee does once a year. In fact, we put it, I think uniquely, we have put it as part of the KRA system that which other people may not have done. That they are actually marked on the KRA, and the increment is determined a small part due to how much yoga and meditation and pranayam they practice on a daily basis. So that is not really directly helping us, but we have done it more for them. So when they help themselves, they get paid better increments, small part. So that's one of the things that we have done. So this is all keeping in line with the, I think the family legacy, the family philosophy, and the family approach to nation building, whether it's building trusts, temples, those kind of things. That is part of the DNA and ethos.
Okay, that's great. That's interesting. Whatever practices you have mentioned, that's quite interesting. And I'm sure it must be giving quite a lot of motivation and some kind of respect towards the company.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah.
That's great. Vedant, can you just flip your iPad towards you a little bit? Yes, that's better. Yes, perfect. Okay, next I would like to know, you come from a finance background, right?
Correct.
So what drives your passion for engineering and manufacturing?
So I have always been interested in anything to do with mechanical engineering, even chemical engineering for that matter. I've always loved like mechanics, the way things work, machines. Not so much tech, more on the machine side. I've always liked automotive. I've liked trains, planes, anything to do with transport. I've always liked machines basically. So it has always been something that has interested me, that I've been passionate about from a young age. So it was a natural progression for me to join one of the family businesses which is into mechanical engineering. And if you see our group, our particular branch of the Birla group has always been into mechanical engineering businesses. We always lean to that. So we had Birla Yamaha, which is a joint venture with Yamaha of Japan for diesel engines and gensets. We had Birla Kennametal, which is a joint venture with Kennametal of USA for machine tool accessories. We had Dagger Force, joint venture with Forst of Germany for gear cutting tools, broaches. We had Birla Peruchini, joint venture with Peruchini of Italy for automotive components, castings. We had Birla 3M, which is joint venture with 3M of USA for telecom tower equipment, etc. We have Zenith Steel Pipes, which is a heavy engineering company for steel pipes. Indian Tools, which is a tooling company. So many such companies. So we've always had companies predominantly in the mechanical engineering space, right? So this is something which not only I was as a child growing up always interested in, but it's also always been an inclination or leaning of our particular branch of the group or of the family. So it was kind of a natural progression, as I said, so to speak.
Okay, okay. Oh, how do you stay ahead of the competition, especially in the manufacturing industry? And what innovations and technologies are you investing in? So, how do you foster a culture of innovation, experimentation, and continuous improvement in your company?
Correct. So we have actually recently tied up with CII, Confederation of Indian Industry, and we have tied up with them to help us on a 1.5 year roadmap on how do we improve, do continuous improve. Basically, continuous improvement in Japan is called Kaizen, right? So we've tied up with them on how to have a lean manufacturing journey, which includes Kaizen, TPM, Six Sigma, 5S+1, all the various good shop floor practices and manufacturing excellence and operational excellence that you can do. So we've tied up with one of the sub bodies of CII to partner with us on this roadmap, and we meet them every month in one of the 5 factories. And all the 5 factories compete with each other on a variety of preset operational excellence parameters on continuous improvement. So that's some of the things we do. We also try to spend about 1 to 2% of our revenue on R&D. So we have a quarterly R&D review meeting where we work on new designs. So for example, not recently, but somewhere in COVID time, we launched some new brands called Panther, Ninja, Torpedo, which are all high performance brands of new materials, next gen materials, new designs, new surface treatments, which we have launched. So that was all developed in house by our R&D team. And we've also launched a new brand called Birla Duro Tool, where we've developed certain products which get used specifically for the hardware tool sector. Because predominantly we have always been an industrial tool company. But with this Birla Duro Tool brand umbrella, we have under that aegis, we have now launched brands which get into more hardware tools, construction tools, plumbing tools, stone cutting tools, etc. So that's also one of the new launches which has come out from a incubated by our R&D team.
Okay, okay, great. So, what is your outlook for the Indian manufacturing industry in the global manufacturing landscape? How do you see this Indian manufacturing industry evolving in the next few years?
So I think Indian manufacturing is somewhere around 15 to 20% of GDP, somewhere around that, fluctuating. I remember PM Modi ji, when he had come out, he had said make in India, that he wanted manufacturing to be 25% of India's GDP, right? Because for industrialized nations like China and all, it was always the industrial revolution that came, and then services, which for India was kind of a little bit different, where it was more services and the manufacturing kind of was a little bit up and down. But I would say now it's really picking up. You have all the FDI in manufacturing, all the MNCs. Whether it's all of Apple's stuff is Apple's phones and iPads, etc. Products are made in India. Whether it's electronics, whether it's medtech, whether it's even the Indian automotive industry is kind of the darling of the global automotive sector. So many things are now being manufactured from India with the entire China+1 strategy. India's going to reap all the benefits. And even with President-elect Trump recently announcing that China is going to impose much more tariffs on China, Mexico, and Canada, you have India is the direct beneficiary of that entire announcement. So I think that's really going to help. That's really going to further augment and give a good tailwind to India's manufacturing growth. And you have such stalwarts of the India's strength, I think, is engineering. Right, India is very good in engineering, in automotive. You have so many global OEMs today based out of India, as well as Indian OEMs who have gone global. Homegrown players. So I think that's very good. Keeping in line with this, we have also started a subsidiary in Germany called Birla Precision GmbH and a warehouse there. We've also opened Birla Precision USA, subsidiary in the States. So 20-30% of our exports is anyway of our sales is into exports. We export to over maybe 35-40 countries over the last 80 years. That's how old this company has been. So across all our divisions, we have 5 divisions in the company. Auto components, hydraulics, power tool accessories, cutting tools, machine tool accessories. across all those divisions, we have a good amount of exports, which is further slated to keep growing with the entire China+1 and all these other trends which are emerging. And I think, with Europe also experiencing some economic disturbances and other parts of the world also slowing down, India is the beacon of the manufacturing, of the global economy with, having steady growth rates of 5, 6, 7%. So I think that is, constantly going to keep growing. And within India also, there's so much domestic demand because the penetration of cars in Indian population also less. So that is also going to keep growing. And, Indian make in India for the world will also keep growing.
You mentioned about China+1 strategy. So, do you think the current infrastructure of the Indian manufacturing industry, or the current technology landscape, or the current talent which is available in India, and also the government policies? So, do you think all these can make some impact to succeed in this China+1 strategy for India?
100%. So see, the only way that one competes with the only competition that one mainly faces with China is on one or two areas. One is raw material is heavily subsidizing China, so it's much cheaper. Second is the rate of power is much cheaper in China. And third would be logistics cost probably. Indian logistics cost will be somewhere 10 to 14%, whereas China is much cheaper. Power we do about 5, 6% is our power cost. 10, 12 rupees of power, which is cheaper in China. And then, of course, the raw material cost. So these are the three main input costs which are very low in China compared to India. So that's something which is a continuous, it's a dynamic state, and it's a moving journey. It's a continuous improvement journey which will keep progressing. But besides that, I would say, Indian value engineering is very strong. The Jugaad innovation, what we can call, or basically the value engineering is very strong. And I think the Indian hunger and mentality is so strong. I remember I was reading the news that last year there was, I think every 3 days there was a new billionaire in India, right? That got created. So Indian appetite and Indian entrepreneurial spirit and zeal is so strong in this country, whether entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs. Both are so strong in this country where I think, the only way for India is upward. So Indians have that ability. I was even recently traveling in Europe. I'm sure you'll be interested in hearing this story. I was traveling in Europe for 1.5 months for work across 7 countries. We did a whirlwind tour to meet customers. So in every country, I was seeing, especially in Germany, that people really love Indians, working in their companies. They give huge value and importance to Indians working there because they say Indians are one of the most hardworking people and one of the most, sincere and diligent, population out of all the demographics. Because Europeans, many times you'll see some, not all, but sometimes, of course, they're rich, they're well settled, they're affluent. So, Saturday, Sunday, काम नहीं करेंगे. They may not work on Saturday, Sunday, or, Friday afternoon, they'll be, chalo, weekend start ho gaya. But, Indians, and after 5 p.m., they'll switch off the phone. So, of course, work-life balance is important. But Indians, you'll see are always, having that work ethic. They want to work, Saturday, Sunday, bhi thoda bahut kaam kar lenge. They'll make sure that things are done. So that is very much respected in the global scenario. Of course, there is that little bit chalta hai attitude which is there a little bit in the Indians, but moreover or over and above, you can say that work ethic and that hunger which is there in Indians, you don't see in many other populations.
That's true. That's true. But do you see any kind of challenges also in this, or some roadblocks in this journey?
The roadblock would only be that, if, let's say, to some extent, if President-elect Trump, suddenly has some other decisions which may prove adverse to India, that can be one. Suddenly he may just decide, because sometimes it can be a bit erratic, right? The policy making, so which you can't depend on. So that could be one risk that may happen. Then maybe China, if they become, very alert about this entire growing threat of India, and they suddenly make some more subsidies or more changes, that may happen. If India is not able to catch up its infrastructure, bring down the logistics costs, that may also this thing. Then, of course, a lot of these wars that are breaking out nowadays, you see in different pockets, that may create a dent. But in general, I think India's domestic demand is only so strong and so high that to more or less it is pretty insulated from all of these headwinds.
We can definitely look forward to much better days for the Indian manufacturing in the global landscape.
100%. 100%.
Okay. What role do you think emerging technologies like artificial intelligence or IoT or blockchain will play in shaping the future of manufacturing, and how is your company approaching this area?
So I would say for us right now, we are at a more exploratory and nascent stage. We have not gone as mature as maybe we should have, but definitely we have taken baby steps in that direction. We have something in the plans for having smart machines where all machines are connected to to IoT basically. So we have started work on making a roadmap for that and a maybe 3 year plan for that. We have also try to figure out that whether how artificial intelligence can play a role into this entire machine learning and smart machines which we want to develop. So transparently, I would say that okay, we definitely have much stuff to do in that area, but that being said, I think definitely it's a huge benefit. Whether you talk about AI, whether you talk about machine learning, whether you talk about IoT, 3D printing, additive manufacturing, these all things have definitely a very good scope and a very good ability to not only reduce cost in manufacturing but also improve the efficiencies.
And in general, do you think, from the point of view of Indian manufacturing, do you think are we ready for that to accept those kind of technologies and to adapt to those technologies in terms of skills, in terms of infrastructure which is required for those technologies, and in terms of overall volumes which we produce?
Definitely, I think you've heard of so many companies nowadays, Indian companies we heard that have gone so made such advancements, in IoT and machine learning and so much advancements in how they, so many people have experienced reduction in cost. Almost every single factory I go to, I see some amount of either cobots or robots or some sort of robotics. I see in almost every single engineering factory that I've gone to. So that is something which I think hugely, having to earlier in the previous industry 3.0 or maybe even before, you had one man, one machine. Now with the entire cobots and robots and the robotics, one man can operate five machines, six machines, seven machines. So many times, most of the factories nowadays you see to varying degrees these are implemented. Almost every factory you see the digital factory where you see the entire factory, all the parameters. There's a dashboard and the factory can be run through the dashboard. Machines give an SMS through predictive maintenance. They give an SMS that directly reaches the operator or the supervisor or whatever, and preempts a problem from before it even occurs. So that I've seen in many companies. So most of these things to varying degrees are you can see the implementation happening across the industry.
What about MSMEs? Do you think the penetration of these technologies is very much impactable there as well?
Some MSMEs, yes, you can see it happening, but then some you don't see it happening. So definitely there is some amount of there's always scope to improve, right? Anything in any manufacturing setup, it's all about continuous improvement, as you also yourself said. So I think that's definitely a journey. It's a journey which is forever dynamic and changing and progressing with all so many things coming and up being updated all the time. So that's a journey.
See, your company, Birla Precision Technologies, had many joint ventures earlier, including what you mentioned earlier, also Metal and Peruchini and then Fost from Germany. So, are you going to explore more joint ventures in the future?
So we are always open to collaborating, to having partnerships. We have a lot of spare land in across our 4 or 5 factories where we can expand, where we can easily deploy any new projects. So we are always open to do that. There are some strengths that we bring to the table, and we are always ready to tie in to other people's strengths and see how the sum of the parts or the sum of the whole is more than the parts. So that's something which we are always on the lookout for, and that's always been in our DNA or in our pedigree that we've always had, as you pointed out. Marquee brands have always tied up with us over the past few decades. So that has always been in the DNA that how do we partner with foreign brands and how do we make it a win-win, and be stronger than you were independently. So we are always open and exploring that actively from time to time.
Any expansion plans in pipeline, if you would like to reveal that?
Yeah, so actually coincidentally, we are in the middle of one expansion plan right now, which is going on. It is live, where we are. So one of our cutting tools is this product called taps, right? We have a product called taps. So in that product, we are expanding. We are investing about close to about $2 million, and we are investing in growing that product into more high-end applications. So up till now, our taps we have only been able to sell to automotive OEMs or tier ones, tier twos, etc. But with this new investment, we will be able to sell to aerospace sector, defense sector, oil and gas, med tech, the high precision industries. Because we are moving from hand taps to machine taps also, like different sort of taps like flukeless taps, spiral point taps, spiral flute taps, etc. So with that investment coming on stream within the next 2 months, we will be able to target that sector. Secondly, we are also invested in our tool holding division about again somewhere close to $500,000, where we are just it's a standard capacity expansion that we have done. And thirdly, last but not the least, we have also by in January end we will be investing in growing our auto components division. So today we sell auto components like fuel injection systems, hydraulic sub assemblies, and the like, to various sort of global heavyweights like we sell in Germany, Italy, we sell in Czech Republic, etc. So we are further expanding that line. There are few new customers that whom we have got orders from. So they require us to invest about close to somewhere again about almost $500,000 in putting up new capacities and new lines for them. So that capex will start somewhere on end Jan as well. So these are the three areas and three capexes where we are doing in one shot kind of.
That's great. That's great. Just one last question, which is more on your personal side. So, how do you prioritize your own professional development, and what resources and mentors you have been most influential in your career?
You're saying how do I balance the home and the office? Is that the question?
No, no. How do you prioritize your own professional development?
My own professional development. Okay.
Yeah, and what
So
resources and mentors you have been most influential in your career?
so my own I'm an avid reader. I read a lot. So right now I'm actually reading the Ambuja Way by Mr. Narottam Siksaria, who showed about how he built Ambuja ACC, and coming from nowhere he turned out to be one of the biggest companies in the cement industry. So I'm reading that, but usually I don't read so many biopics, but I read more kind of technical books on management or HR or marketing. So what I do is for 1 year I choose one theme, let's say marketing. So that entire year I'll make a list and I'll read only books on marketing. So the entire year I dive into that one topic. Then next year I'll choose HR. So entire year I'll read books on HR. So that's how I kind of keep myself updated. Then from time to time I watch various videos, but books I would say is my main source of constantly keeping myself updated. Of course, I read all the business dailies and all on a daily basis, which of course has its role to play. And usually I'm always meeting, various sort of people that from the industry. Like many times often take opinions or advice, or I bounce ideas with Mr. Anil Agarwal, who's a close family friend, chairman of Vedanta Group. Then, of course, from time to time, my uncle, Mr. Kumar Mangalam Birla, has always, whenever I need advice from time to time, I would often turn to him or pick his brain. Mr. C.K. Birla, based in Delhi, from Orient Group. Owns Orient Cement and all the Orient companies and various other companies like Birla Soft. Sometimes I talk to him for advice. So I have a variety of people whom I respect, who I look up to, and who I go to for advice, who you can say kind of are my mentors. Also, I have always taken as my mentors, or you can say I've always been inspired by, because that's just me, and that's kind of how my father also brought me up. Is spiritual heroes that are there in India, right? So I've always been inspired by the Gita and by Arjun and Lord Krishna. I've always inspired by Lord Ram. In fact, right now, coincidentally, I'm watching the Srimad Ramayana, also the new one which has come out on Sony Live. So whenever I get time, I watch that. So more or less, these are things which I remember Mahatma Gandhi had written a letter to my family, to one of my ancestors, because Mahatma Gandhi is very close to the Birla family. So he had read. In fact, I don't know if you're aware, but he was even assassinated in the Birla house in Delhi, Mahatma Gandhi.
Okay.
So So the family has always been linked to, these kind of freedom fighters. Even Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel actually passed away in the house I'm right now staying, Birla House, Bombay. So, freedom fighters have always been linked to the family. So that has, those other shows have always been, something which has always been inspiring. So Mahatma Gandhi had written a letter to somebody in my family that, Ramayana and Gita are two scriptures that you must keep again and again reading throughout your life and keep coming back to again and again, because sometimes once you read it you forget it, but many of the answers can be found of your life's issues in those two books, and it's kind of like a tonic. It gives you that solace, or it gives you that inspiration when you are down and beaten down. It gives you that hope. It's such a hopeful book, and it's so positive. So you keep coming back to those books, keep getting inspired, and that is something which keeps pushing you along. So I can say my mentors, my predominant or primary mentors, have always been the ancient saints or the ancient heroes of Indian scriptures or mythology, or however you want to call it. And of course, variety of business leaders whom I named, who I regularly speak to and pick their brain or bounce ideas and go to for advice.
That's great. Thanks, Vedant. It was wonderful interacting with you, and it was great to know about your own personal side towards spirituality and also towards business. And also, it was wonderful to know about your company's plans, your joint ventures, of course, of your views on the Indian manufacturing industry. So, thanks a lot, and we look forward to connecting with you again.
Perfect. Thanks for having me here. Pleasure to be here, and look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Sure. Thank you very much.